Yo, what is poppin', guys? It's your boy Ashley the Cat, and I'm coming at you with my draft analysis for my Summer Showdown team. Now, I'm super excited about Summer Showdown. I really liked the GBA FDL whenever I was in that, and I know a lot more people that are doing Summer Showdown. Like a lot more people. Almost everybody I know from all the different servers I'm over and everything are all participating. So this should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping to grab some good battles, and I'm really excited to show you guys about my team, because my team is one that I'm excited to use. I'm not sure how well it's going to go yet. It starts off really good, but the thing is I forgot about points. Every Pokemon is worth a certain amount of points in the tier draft, and at first I was just like, well, I just need to get a good core, and then I'll worry about the points later. But after I got my good cores, I was like, oh man, I need this and this and this, and by the time I was looking down the barrel of my last two Pokemon, I barely had any points left. So it's not a horrible team by any means, but I'm definitely looking at some of these teams that other people drafted feeling just a tiny bit jealous that I didn't get anything that nice. So let's just go ahead, quit wasting time, and start off. Look at our first pick, which was Landorus T. Now everybody knows about Landorus T. Landorus T with Intimidate, big body Landorus, very common Z move user, although it is not my Z move user. We'll get to that later. I'm a big fan of Landorus as both an offensive and defensive Pokemon. It plays every role on a team. It can play almost any role that you want it to on a team. It can be a setup mon, it can be a Scarfer, it can be a Stealth Rock setter, it can be a defensive check. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys how good Landorus T is. He's on almost every OU team ever made. He's got the highest usage out of any Pokemon in OU right now, I believe. The dude is just an absolute powerhouse. So it seemed like a logical choice that if he was there, I had the fourth pick. If he was there, that I would take him, and he was, so I did. Very, very happy with this mon, and kind of allows me to build around it. Like I never have to worry too much about defense with having the core that I do. But there's not really much more I have to say about Landorus T, man. I feel like y'all know everything you need to know about Landorus, because if you haven't played one yet, then you're probably not watching videos on competitive Pokemon. So let's go ahead and move on to Heatran, which is our next pick. I thought this pick complemented Landorus T very, very well, and Heatran is my Z user, seeing as I love the ability to fire off a Bloom Doom or something like that. Heatran is a fantastic Z user with that 130 special attack. I'm a huge fan of this defensive. I'm a huge fan of Landorus. Oh my god. Sorry guys, I'm excited. I'm speaking fast. Very excited for this Heatran, because it can be ran either offensively or defensively, much like my Landorus. So already with this 2-mon core, we have a lot of versatility the teams have to prepare for, which I think is nice. That's something you definitely want in a tournament like this, because I know certain matches the matchups are released 15 minutes before the matches are meant to be played. So you'll be having to very quickly decide what you think your opponent is going to be bringing, and since my first two Pokemon can be on either side of the coin, I think it might make it a little bit harder to plan for what I'm going to do. Heatran's a Pokemon I don't have a ton of experience using. I've played a decent bit of OU, but I typically I like a lot of other steel types, as Pokemon, and like want to play with them more than I like Heatran. I don't know that much about Heatran, but by no means do I consider it a bad Pokemon. I'm very well aware of how fantastic this Pokemon is, and I'm very excited to start using it. I'm definitely going to get some reps in before Saturday, which is the day that open pools start. But let's go ahead and move on to our next part of our defensive core, being Rotomwash. So I thought Rotomwash fit very, very well with Lando T and Heatran. It gives me Volt Turn with Lando T. It provides great switch-ins to anything that might damage, like any ice moves that might hit Landorus, as well as any ground type moves or water moves that might come out against Heatran, where Heatran can take the grass type moves that you will probably see coming out flying at this Rotomwash. So I've felt very, very confident in this defensive core that I've built. I'm very excited just to have the Scald Man himself on our team. We didn't get any Tapus or anything. Usually if I get like a Tapu Fini or something, I try to avoid picking mons that get status moves. But I felt like Rotomwash would be a great true defensive Pokemon to complement, because I can run this with either Landorus or Heatran defensively, as well as both of them at the same time. And it's got great status moves like Thunder Wave. I think it gets Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, a Pain Split to cause further damages. And it gets the slow Volt Switch out. So overall, very happy with the defensive core I've built so far. My next pickup was Mega Sceptile. This right here is going to finish out my Fire Water Grass core with Heatran, Rotomwash, and Mega Sceptile. I love this thing's base speed. I love this thing's special attack, and hell, I even love its attack. This thing is going to be a very formidable attacker, and something I highly anticipate bringing in on the slow U-turn and Volt Switch that I've set myself up with. It's got Lightning Rod, meaning that it can switch in fairly easily to somebody trying to spam an electric type move. Tapu Kokos will definitely have to beware, because I could switch right in on a Tapu Koko, outspeed it, and pretty much absolutely obliterate it with the +1 special attack boost at 145. So I think this is going to be a good counter to a lot of the things that you might see. Obviously, we have to worry about things such as priority moves like Ice Shard and any like scarfed ice type attackers, like maybe like a scarfed Mamoswine or something. But I have high hopes for this Mega Sceptile. I think it's going to be really exciting. I've never used this Pokemon either, which is that's kind of a common theme with this team, because I've never successfully drafted Landorus. I didn't really know how to build around it. But once I got my defensive core built, I kind of looked around, and most of the offensive threats that I'm used to using were gone. So I just kind of looked around and found what I thought would fit well in my team. So Mega Sceptile definitely fit the bill for that. Next up, we have Comfey as our Fairy type, which rounds out our Fairy Dragon and Steel core, meaning that we are 5 Pokemon in and already have both of our cores, which is super exciting. I love having the cores. I mean, I know that you can't, with 2 cores, it's weird to bring both of them each week, but I like having nice stout cores. It's always something that you should strive to do in a draft league format, and it's definitely harder to do in a tier list, because you may only have a certain amount of points left and be like, well, there's no good this type here and whatever, so forth. I like Comfey because it is the setup god. If you can get it in against something in walls and get a Leech Seed up, as well as start stacking up those Calm Minds, that priority Draining Kiss is insane. I'm a huge fan of Comfey and its ability to set up and stall out teams, as well as its great support options. It's really just a hard thing to take down, and I thought it fit very well as the Fairy type on my team. I thought about going Florges, but Florges was, I think, 2 or 3 more points than Comfey, and had I picked Florges, the rest of my draft would have been really screwed. So I'm super glad I picked Comfey. I think it fits very well in the team. Next up, we have Mandabuzz. I really wanted a defog user, and I felt like Mandabuzz was an absolutely fantastic defog user. It's high health and defense, as well as it's pretty decent special defense. Allows it to tank a lot of hits. Mandabuzz are very tanky typically, and kind of giving me a good chance to get the defog off was definitely something I wanted. Then this is, again, as I said, another Pokemon that I've used it a little bit in doubles with VGC. I ran it on my team for a while, and the bulk on this thing was astonishing. So I very much so looking forward to using this Mandabuzz, getting these very safe defogs off, and really just putting together this team. I realized this is a little bit fat, so I don't have any super strong attackers outside of Mega Sceptile to really take advantage of all these U-turns and Volt Switches. The unfortunate thing is I picked Mandabuzz because after doing some math on my phone calculator, I was like, oh, if I pick Mandabuzz, I'll have 24 points left. Well, it turns out that I did my math wrong, and I actually only had 14 points left. So my original plan was to grab something like Chandelure or Hawlucha or Lucario that could really help wall break off of a U-turn or a Volt Switch. But unfortunately, to get one of those Pokemon, I would have had to give up 10 to 12 points out of my 14. And that would have meant that my last Pokemon had to be a 1 or 2 point Pokemon, which, spoiler alert, they are all absolute trash. So after picking Mandabuzz, I kind of looked at myself and said, shit, well, what do I want to do to get some offensive presence? Now, I decided to go with Sneasel. Now, it's not a huge wall breaker by any means. I mean, with a 95 attack and a 35 special attack, it's not formidable, I would say. But giving it 115 speed gives it the ability to run a Choice Band, which is great with moves such as Knock Off, Icicle Crash, I think maybe, and Ice Shard. Those are great stab moves, as well as being a fantastic Pursuit Trapper. So I felt like that would be very advantageous to get a scary Pursuit Trapper, as well as something really, really fast and Ice type. Fast Ice types are essential, in my opinion, in a Draft League format. I mean, if you can have a slow, bulky Ice type, but being Ice type kind of precludes you from being bulky in general. So I'm happy with this pick. I typically don't like drafting Eviolite Mons, but Sneasel is the exception. It seemed, you know, I was down to take Diet Weavile for this because I felt like it really complemented my team okay. And I'm trying to make the best out of a bad situation at this point with as far as my points go. So after this, I'm left with 7 points, and I look at the board and I say, what can I use that would be a fantastic special attacking wall breaker? And there were none there. So I picked up Exploud. Now I like Exploud because it's got fairly good health and Boom Burst, as well as Scrappy. Meaning that if I get this thing in on a slow U-turn against something that can't really put a big dent in it, I'm just going to be able to start firing off possibly some Choice Specs Boom Burst, which I think could do a pretty good for late game cleaning, as well as maybe giving it a Scarf. Like if I'm playing a particularly sluggish team and I can get away with running a Scarf Exploud at the very end, I think I may be able to do that. But this is a Pokemon I just picked because out of all of the picks left, there was nothing on the special side of the field that really appealed to me, or the compilation of my team. There was a couple of Pokemon that were all weak to Rock or Ice, which would give my team an even bigger Rock and Ice weakness than it already has. So I didn't want to go that route, and so instead of just compiling onto my type weaknesses and advantages and everything, I just decided to go with something that could across the board put in damage on anything that wanted to come in. Pretty much Steel types are going to be a little bit of an issue because the Boom Burst doesn't hit those as hard, but Exploud does give Fire Blast, so I'm not too worried about that. In general, I think it was a pretty solid pickup, and will do a good job of catching some people off guard, because with running Scrappy, even Ghost types can't really stand up to repeated Boom Burst over and over and over again. I might not bring it to every match, or even might not even bring it at all, but I'm glad I have it, and I hope I get the opportunity to use it. So that's pretty much the whole team. We only get to pick 8. As I said, Heatran is my Z user, and I'm really excited. It's kind of a team of misfits. It's not really what I would consider the best team I've seen drafted. Not even close to the best team I've seen drafted. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm excited to play with it. No matter what happens in this tournament, I play this game for fun. Like, I do get very competitive, and I want to win. That's not, you know, I'm not I'm not saying that winning doesn't matter, because it definitely does. That's why I play this game, is I want to be one of the best people. But I'm super excited about using this team. It was after I got done drafting it, at first I was almost a little bummed with my team that I drafted, but then I look at it and I get to see Mons like Mega Sceptile and Sneasel and Mandabuzz and Exploud that I've liked since their reveals, like since I've seen the Pokemon, and have never really gotten a chance to use in any sort of format, and that I would be reluctant to pick in a 12-week playoff draft league, because I wouldn't want to be stuck with some of these Pokemon for 4 months. Like, I don't know how much I like Sneasel, or how much I would like it after 4 months, or same thing with Mandabuzz and Exploud. But this kind of gives me an opportunity to play around with some Pokemon that I really love to use, or would love to use, and just try and get some wins, man. I'm excited about the level of competition. I'm excited about the general atmosphere around the Discord and everything. But anyway, that's about all I have to say. If you guys are excited to see the content coming up, let me know by commenting and subscribing, all the bullshit, you know how it works. And let me know what you think about the team. You just go ahead and tell me, be like, hey man, your team sucks because this, or hey, I really like this, or hey, there's this Pokemon, you may not have mentioned this, that could help you in some way. Go ahead, leave all the comments you want, man. I do read them, and I do respond to pretty much every comment that comes through, as long as it's not one of those bullshit free music places commenting, telling me I can come to their channel for free music. But anyway, y'all have a good day. Peace out.